As a DC Comics fan, it has been one hell of a ride the last few years. I love the DC Comics universe. I love the heroes. I love everything about it. I love the hopeful nature. I like DC Comics and the characters and universe way more than I like Marvel. I mean, I like Marvel, but I love DC. And there's been so many projects and movies and streaming shows that have been announced, and then they didn't come out, and then the only stuff that ever seems to come out is the dumbest stuff that can ever possibly be conceived of to be associated with DC Comics. And finally, it feels like Warner Brothers' reckoning for producing all these stupid ideas and scrapping the good ones is finally going to be here. There's going to be no more chances taken when it comes to anything DC related, when it comes to movies, television, or any of that stuff. We're going to get Batman, we're going to get Superman, maybe a little bit of Wonder Woman, some Justice League, and maybe if all that's successful, then maybe we'll see another character outside of that stuff. At least that's the way it looks like it's heading. Obviously, we got the Batgirl cancellation this past week, which people were taken back by, but there's way more than that. This year alone, we've seen the cancellation of numerous movies and TV shows like The Flash, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, Batgirl, Wonder Twins, Naomi, and Supergirl twice, the TV show and the planned movie. And it appears it's just the tip of the iceberg. Rumors circulating indicate the Green Lantern series, Strange Adventures, Harley Quinn, Doom Patrol, and Titans are all on the chopping block as well. And it absolutely sucks that we're getting some of these really cool projects that are already in production and we already have seasons of. Doom Patrol is such a high-quality show. It sucks that would be on the chopping block. I wanted Green Lantern so bad you can't even imagine. I love the Green Lantern Corps. It sounded like it was a good idea. I wanted Hal Jordan, but hey, I can take Alan Scott and some other characters like that. That was going to be fun. But they've shit the bed so many times with their DC universe, with the DCEU, that David Zaslav has had to come in and said, oh, you spent $100 million on a Batgirl movie when you've never even had Nightwing introduced in the movie universe? Get the hell out of here. You're God. Oh, you want to do a Supergirl movie before we've gotten Superman right? That's God. You want to do Wonder Twins, huh? Get the fuck out of here. And he had to start taking a chainsaw to this whole operation and get rid of all the dumb stuff, and along with it, because of the cost saving that he's looking for, because there hasn't been enough success associated with DC stuff outside of like Batman and that Joker movie, and I guess Aquaman and Wonder Woman, that all these other projects that had merit have to be scrapped as well, because Walter Hamada and the other people around these DC properties took so many stupid chances and failed so many times that we just have to get rid of everything. Case in point, during a recent episode of the Hollywood Babylon YouTube series, Kevin Smith confirmed DC's Strange Adventures anthology series has officially been canceled at HBO Max. This is what he had to say. It feels like it was once to me a promising future of we are going to see a bunch of DC stuff on HBO Max. More DC stuff than we could see theatrically, including shit like Strange Adventures gone. All of it is just effing gone now. I got a call the other day from Eric before all this story broke, and he was just like, Strange Adventures is officially dead. And I was like, what the F? Are you serious? I know we haven't heard from them for a while, but I guess this goes in parts with the new moves with David Zaslav. But good Lord, I thought Strange Adventures being a casualty kind of made sense to me. Nobody necessarily knows these characters. It sounded like an expensive show. And some of you may want to know, why would Kevin Smith know about all this stuff? Because they had actually hired him to write an episode that was going to feature like Bizarro and Jimmy Olsen and some stuff like that. I think he wanted to cast Nick Cage as Bizarro, which I think was actually probably a pretty good idea. But it was going to be an anthology introducing a bunch of characters from the DC universe we wouldn't see in films and other shows and stuff like that, just to kind of give people an opportunity to get to know the characters and maybe they use them later on. I'm not surprised something like that got canceled. A bit ambitious on the part of HBO Max, and I think that's probably what really ended up hurting them in the end. They probably got a little bit too ambitious on the things that they were actually greenlighting to go to HBO Max. Like, why were they making a Wonder Twins movie? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Maybe if you wanted to make it for kids on a really cheap budget and put it on Cartoon Network or something like that, that would kind of make sense. But I don't know why that would have been on HBO Max. The Batgirl movie was also an odd choice. It's like, we haven't seen this character introduced into any of the movies yet you want to introduce a character that isn't all that popular outside of comic books in directly to a TV show with the Bat gimmick on it when you just had Batwoman fail spectacularly on the CW already. It's like, why are you making these choices and you're kind of doing the same thing over and over? It was just race swapping characters over and over and over. That's kind of what they were doing within that office. And you're like, how about we just get the universe right first? Let's get a few hits here and there, and then maybe you can start taking your chances. Like obviously the MCU is doing right now. But I don't know, DC Films and DC on HBO Max always, it just feels like the little brother of the MCU, where they're just like, I want to play too, and I want to do everything like you do because I look up to you, kind of thing, rather than going out there and getting their own identity. So it's no wonder that a lot of these things are canceled, and it absolutely sucks because it felt like HBO Max was going to be like the place to go if you're a DC fan. You know, we did have DC Universe, which was like a streaming app, but it was also DC's like online comic book library thing, and then they took the streaming stuff out and put it in HBO Max, and DC Infinite Universe, his own thing. But it felt like we were going to get all these DC projects, and now none of them were going to happen, apparently, because Kevin Smith continued. I don't know this for a fact, but I also haven't heard anything about the Green Lantern series that they were supposedly doing. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a casualty too. That's what Kevin Smith had to say. Most Strange Adventures in Green Lantern were originally conceived to be coming to HBO Max from the Arrowverse lead Greg Berlanti, who obviously did have some pretty decent hits over on the CW, at least early on. But man, was he whipping left and right outside of Superman and Lois there at the end. But it doesn't sound like we're going to get almost anything DC related on HBO Max that is produced specifically for that anymore. Although James Gunn has confirmed Peacemaker season 2 is still go, at least as far as he knows. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's Young Justice, Harley Quinn, Doom Patrol, Titans. There's also that rumored Justice League Dark Constantine project that's supposedly going on with J.J. Abrams. So there's a lot of stuff that's still up in the air. But if we're to believe rumors, acclaimed DC shows Harley Quinn, Doom Patrol, and Titans are all up next on the chopping block and will likely be canceled soon. The reason behind the huge number of programs and films being canceled, including Harley Quinn and Doom Patrol, in all likelihood has to do with the future of HBO Max itself. It is being heavily rumored that Warner Brothers Discovery plans to merge HBO Max and Discovery Plus and do away with most, if not all, original scripted programming for HBO Max, relying on non-scripted programming associated with Discovery and shows and movies being produced for other platforms to eventually arrive on HBO Max. If the project was originally designated to be an HBO Max project and it's scripted, there's a high likelihood that none of it's going to happen. Maybe it'll go to HBO, maybe it'll go to one of the platforms. Obviously, it sounds like TNT and TBS won't have much scripted programming there either, at least new scripted programming. And they're just kind of doing it all away and going to kind of reality shows because they're cheaper to produce. And I guess there's less financial risk involved. I wanted more Doom Patrol. I wanted some of this great stuff that was going to be on HBO Max, but it was so mismanaged. And David Zaslav was absolutely in there to cut costs. And if you're not making enough money, he's just going to do away with it and see if he can save $3 billion. And unfortunately, that's going to be the cost of David Zaslav doing business. There will be little to no creativity or originality associated with anything DC related, I would say, for at least 5 years, maybe even 10, before he gets some people in there that he trusts that can actually take a chance or two. It's going to be Batman, Superman, Justice League, the mainstay characters that we all know and love, and we're probably going to see retreads of stories we've already seen. I've been predicting for a while now, since David Zaslav took over, not only big changes at DC Films, but DC Comics as well. I think heads are going to roll there. They need big wholesale changes, and they need to become a bit more profitable, if you know what I mean.